One part of our job is partnering with our volunteers to support them in an ask. In the capital campaign, I'm involved in some higher level major gift type asks, leadership gift asks. And I'm currently working on our capital campaign steering committee and working with volunteers and board members. We have some fantastic board members, thoroughly engaged in the process and a pleasure to work with. And really good door openers for us because they're very well connected in the community. They've worked with big organizations or they're related to big organizations. And we have this great board member, fantastic door opener, getting us into a meeting with a CEO of a large corporation who is entertaining an ask that the CEO certainly knows why we're going to be there. So we're at the steering committee meeting and she knows she's opened the door. And so I throw the question out of, have you thought about a dollar amount? And she's like, no. And then she throws out this dollar amount figure and I throw out one 5 times greater than the one she said. And her immediate response is, well, I don't think they're going to be capable of a gift that size right now. You know, given our current economic situation and their portfolio is really downsized and they're a corporation who's had to lay off a lot of employees. And I'm hearing this fantastic board member throw up all of these barriers. And they're barriers for actually making the ask. And I can see in all of my interactions with her, I can see that she's somebody who's uncomfortable and hesitant about really making the ask. So we're sitting there in the meeting and she's saying all of these things and I say to her and the rest of our volunteers and board members who are sitting in that room, I said, you know, the success of an ask is determined by our attitude and not by theirs. And she just kind of was real quiet and everyone was really quiet. And then everyone was kind of like, oh yeah, I get it. You know, like it made a lot of sense to them that we have to stop assuming all of the reasons why someone's going to tell us no. And we have to go in there looking for the yes. But we have to bring that with us when we walk in the door. And so that was just a really sort of like an aha moment as far as, you know, staff being with a group of volunteers who are working with us to raise these dollars. And it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool moment, and people really got it. And I'm kind of excited for that ask, by the way. It hasn't happened yet.
I think you hear a lot the buzzwords in the fundraising community, like donor-centered and moves management and all this kind of stuff. And I think sometimes that we have the tendency to want to be donor-centered so much that we actually don't let it link into our community goals as well. So right now is not a right time, or this might not be, they just, and fill in the blank. And so sometimes we have to stop and think, well, you know, our campaign's running this time length and we don't know if it's the right time unless we ask. And so we don't have the right to project that on a donor unless we do have a conversation with them. And so you see campaigns drag out because their name continues to be on a list for months and months and months. And it really becomes something that we self-fulfilled rather than something that we just wanted to have a conversation. And you know, the conversation can say, is this the right time? Or you know, may I ask permission to make an ask for a gift? Or almost even if they feel a little tentative. But I love the actual moment of the ask. I think a lot of people, I get nervous as well, like 5 minutes before any meeting like that, but I love it. And I think from a fundraising professional standpoint, you definitely have to do your homework. I think it's a respectful thing to the donor to know as much as you can about their life, their interests, their community, their family. And so we kind of almost fill out a 2-page thing called a call outline. And through that call outline, you collect all your kind of facts. And then I even sometimes put in the open-ended questions that I think that would help this donor open up more. And some of my favorite questions are, you know, why the YMCA? You've given to the Y for the last 5 years. Tell me about that. What would you like to hear more about the Y? What would be something that you would be passionate about hearing more that would help you increase your gift? And they pretty much tell you what you need to know. And so I love about it because it's this dichotomy of preparing as much as you can, but then you just go for it. And it's almost like a roller coaster ride, and you want to keep yourself on track, but you don't ever want to force a square peg in a round hole. So you open these questions and you just let them talk. And through that, you start learning, you're picking up on all these signals. And then eventually, hopefully your call outline is prepared well enough that the volunteer, whoever you're with, at the Y, we're really adamant that 2 people go on the call at all times. 1, so you can take moments to stop and collect between each other. And 2, you can both hear and listen to the donor more in their answers. But when it comes time down to it, we do have a little bit of script. So it's almost like you come in prepared, let the meeting blossom, but then when it comes time down to making the actual ask, we do have, the specific ask amount is a very big component for us and our volunteers and our board members. And asking for a specific amount, and hopefully I've done enough research to be a respectful amount. And at that point, once we make that ask, we stay completely silent. Mm-hmm. And I've sat in certain ask meetings where we've sat silent for a long time. And I've sat in one meeting, and my boss actually had a meeting once where immediately the donor goes, well, I need to go think about that and go to the bathroom. And then he came back and he gave a $150,000 gift. So it was one of those things that he just needed what he needed, and I think every human being has the ability to tell the other person what I need right now, and at that moment he needed to take 5 minutes, but it was a good 5 minutes. So I think the ask is such a great moment and a perfect kind of culmination of all the work that you've done behind the scenes, and that you've hopefully done as much as you can to set up the volunteer board member you're with on success. But I think the true fundraising comes in the follow-up. And that follow-up for us, I think the one thing that we hear the most positive about the Y is that we are great at the follow-up, and then sometimes some of the feedback we get, especially from long-term donors, is that our follow-up could be spotty. So the commitment to follow-up, I think, is what makes or breaks your next campaign.